But I want to bring Diane on. She's going to tell us more about it. Diane, welcome to the program. How are you doing?
Hello, Pat. How are you?
Good. Now, did I get all of that right? And can you tell me a little bit more about this? His name is James Buenrostro.
Yeah, you give it a shot. I don't know.
James Buenrostro, and he's a firefighter, apparently. Did I get some of that right, all of it right? And what do you know about this case? And this has been going on for years now, right, with this firefighter.
Yes.
You found out that he was getting paid leave?
Yes, probably for a couple months now. After the initial police report that you just talked about, he did involuntarily get committed at Broman. I don't think he stayed for more than a couple hours. And then I believe he was told to get alcohol treatment. And then he disappeared and nobody knew where he was. They kept paying him because he had accumulated days off. And then when those days ran out, somehow he reappeared and got put on administrative leave. So he's been getting paid ever since.
Mm.
Now, I don't think this is a matter of the union blocking his firing. I think they want him gone because this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
I think they're just done with him. I just don't understand his girlfriend. I know women don't leave domestic violence situations because they keep believing them when they say, I'll change, I'll never do it again. But I don't know how many times it takes before you actually give up and say enough of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder if it's just bureaucracy and like at the time it takes to actually get him to be fired. Really, I don't know what's going on. And, the union might want him gone and everybody might want him gone. But like, why is the trigger not being pulled here where because we really need the standard has to be high for public servants. It sucks. I know we've all got issues. We've all got family problems and domestic violence. We all know somebody who's gone through it, probably personally. And I'm not trying to judge this guy, but you got to be held to a high standard, especially when you're in such a high stress type job. And in your article, you actually talked about some real heroes who did some real life-saving actions and interventions involving infants, cardiac patients, and there wasn't a whole lot of headlines about that. And
No,
I know
I would love to have had more details at the city council meeting. Monday night, they had this whole line of firemen and a couple of policemen who were honored for life-saving things that they did. And we really don't have a lot of details. I mean, yeah. I've got some from behind the scenes, but I don't want to reveal it because that would reveal my source. And the city's been trying for years to find out what my source is in the fire department, but I'm not gonna spell it.
Well, BLNNEWS, folks, this is the place to go because she's got sources all over the Central Illinois area, and she is on top of it. And I think that we have to celebrate those who embody the best of our public institutions, and they fail epically every single time at doing this. And they wonder why there's people like you, me, who are so adversarial with the government. It's because they're always silently protecting the ones who disgrace these public institutions. Okay, so they keep it all silent and quiet, and they don't do this very hey, public firing, we condemn these actions totally. We have to keep our public safety officers to a higher standard. And then they keep this really quiet. Why not celebrate these people? These are heroes. Instead of using the system to sort of shield the offenders. He's getting paid administrative leave. He hasn't had this really open public firing. I haven't seen any kind of statements from the fire department condemning his actions at all. Maybe you have, but
no, just behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's all behind the scenes type stuff. There's HR paperwork that you've been able to obtain, and they've even gone as far to not release body cam footage or redact details, correct?
I've had 2 body cams not given to me lately. According to the law, if nobody's arrested, they don't have to give it to me.
Whoa.
And both of these involve, people getting paid or an elected official, which is one of them. And people have a right to know. And there's nothing in the law, evidently, that says if it's an elected official that does something that people should know about. It doesn't matter. You can't have the body cam.
Yeah, and that alone just really like raises my eyebrows. It suggests to me that they're trying to shield the worst of these people in these public institutions, and then they like are pretty quiet about the best, and like you don't get any
Yeah.
details about the heroes. So yeah, I wonder where the accountability is going to be. I hope that the paperwork goes through. Still no action there. And I don't know. I think that they're running our public safety, and this is why people don't respect our public safety departments, our police officers, our firefighters. And it's really, I think, the public institutions and people, the pencil pushers who aren't on the ground every single day, who are facilitating this disrespect by silencing the hero, or keeping silent the heroic work, but then also simultaneously shielding these bad actors. And yeah, I don't know. I think that our message should be that, hey, we have high standards, and we're going to condemn the bad apples, and we're going to uplift the good the good heroes. So I do want to get anything else on that story, Diane, that we should know about?
Well, I just think that maybe the city is afraid they're going to get sued because they're in a lawsuit right now with a police officer who was fired, and it appears that they did not have just cause to fire him. But we'll wait and see what the court says. This guy, I think they do have just cause to fire, but they're sitting on it. Maybe they think he's going to sue. I don't know.
Yeah, and it gets tricky because, like you said, you don't think that the union's protecting this guy,
Yeah.
but these guys are backed by unions, and these public unions have way more power than they've ever had before. Unions have incredible power here in the state of Illinois, so it takes a lot to fire somebody, even a public sector union. It takes a lot to fire somebody because, and ultimately the taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill, right, Diane? Like this, because if there's a lawsuit that comes out, then we have to foot the bill. That's why public unions. And Amendment 1 was truly disgusting here in the state of Illinois. You had Republicans voting for that thing too.
But you have to consider firefighters take a long time to train. They invest a lot of money in them. Maybe they're still hoping he's going to go get help.
Yeah. And really, it's the system that failed him. Like, I'm not even yes, domestic violence. And if he's abusing this woman, and clearly, according to social media, I mean, he called her a slut. I mean, that's terrible, right? On social media, anybody who does that kind of stuff, it's sad. But we've all had issues in family disputes and things like that. Unfortunately, this guy just happens to be in the public light because he's a public officer. He's a public safety officer of some kind of firefighter. But at the end of the day, I think the system's failing him too, because what are we doing about Domestic Violence Safety Act? Has anything reached this level? We don't know, because you haven't gotten some of the body cam footage out. A criminal aspect to this. And should he be behind bars? Should he be forced into some sort of mental program?
I thought the police could go ahead and prosecute domestic violence without the victim's cooperation. And maybe that's just not in Illinois. I don't know.
I thought so too. I thought that was an Illinois thing where you could, I think that there's enough there. I mean, because he's made it public. I mean, social media posts and things like that. And then body cam footage. And then there were witnesses, obviously, at this convention that they were at. And she had to leave the hotel room and seek refuge in somebody else's hotel room, apparently. There's witnesses to this. So I don't know. I guess not in Illinois. Right. The prosecution's discretion. It just seems all over the place to me here in the state of Illinois. The prosecutors, it seems like they just need to have a lot in order to go after a criminal. And it might be because of the Safety Act. I don't know. But we live in a state that uplifts criminals, right?
No kidding.
So, I mean, and really it's a system that's failing him, and it's failing the taxpayers because we're having somebody collect paid leave, and he probably shouldn't even be there, and nobody really wants him there anymore. So according to the HR paperwork, I do want to shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about the protests that are going to be planned here for June 14th in a couple of days. What do you know about those? That's going to be at the BCPA, right?
Oh, yeah.
So are
they? All the protests happen now.
Yeah, it seems like every other week, right, Diane?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they're planned.
Really?
So have you heard anything about these nonprofit organizations that are connected to this particular protest? I think that, what is this one called? Do you know?
No Kings.
No Kings. Okay. So I think that they're connected to the nonprofit 5051.
Yes, they are.
Which I don't know. I think that that has some sort of connection to progressive billionaires somewhere, right?
Of course it does. And government money.
Yeah.
A lot of these organizations have gotten money from the government, either through states or the federal government through USAID, to instigate chaos, because their main goal is to eliminate capitalism. They're Marxists.
Mm-hmm.
So the more chaos they can sow, the easier it is to overthrow the government and start over again with their version of government, which is not going to happen in America. I'm sorry. I don't care how much you sow, the government's going to come down and stop you. And thank goodness we have Trump in office to stop these people. Otherwise, it might happen.
Yeah, well, and I think it's just this shifting of people who want to be in this public nonprofit sector, and they want to do away with capitalism, where you create something, make something, sell that something that's beneficial to society, and they would much rather be hired by this nonprofit to eradicate some sort of issue, which they never really address, like whether it be homelessness or immigration or whatever, insert said cause. They would rather collect money sitting on their butts pretending to address, hunger, world hunger, or homelessness, whatever. So I think that there's a shifting going on, particularly here in the state of Illinois, and it's shocking when you go to the state house, Diane. I mean, these people just switch out T-shirts. They're all the same people. Like, I'm not kidding. I saw one lady. I saw her there every single week. I was going to cover State House News, and I was like, I've seen this lady every single day, but she's in the Capitol with different T-shirts on. So I think she works for multiple nonprofit organizations, and she goes there and she lobbies the government, right? And the legislators aren't crafting anything. It's just nonprofits, these special interest groups. But they're all the same type of people, but they're paid to be there and lobby the government with government dollars. It's wild. I mean, it's the craziest thing to watch. So anything else that we need to know about in the Bloomington, Normal, Central Illinois area? I know that No King's Day is happening. The nonprofits, they're paying these protesters to be there. I don't know. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the tiny homes.
I posted a story on that this morning.
Okay.
But they've always made a big deal about Bloomington doesn't have to put any money into this. Well, the money is coming from the county that Bloomington gave to the county because they raised your sales taxes. This was back when the new jail was built, or the expansion to the jail. The county wanted 0.25%. Bloomington went ahead and raised it 1% and kept 3/4. And Normal pretty much did the same thing. Although I didn't look up the percentages because I don't really report on Normal anymore. I consider them a lost cause. But anyway, they're sending all this money to the county and talking about NGOs. The Behavior Health Coordinating Council is the one that is supposedly in charge of this mental health stuff in town. And they're the ones who requested the money, $1.3 million, to go to help build these cabins.
Yeah, and these are like the homeless tiny homes, right?
The tiny homes that Home Sweet Home Mission wants to oversee. But they're not FOIA-able. They somehow organized to make themselves exempt from FOIA. And they're not the only NGO in town, believe me. There's a lot of them that get money that we never hear how it's spent. Another one is Visit BN, that works behind the scenes to supposedly encourage visiting Bloomington normal, except we don't know what they do. I guess the meetings are open. You can go to the meetings if you want to, but they're not subject to FOIA either.
Mm.
So we don't know what any of these organizations do.
Yeah, but they get all kinds of taxpayer dollars.
So,
and they're essentially agencies without being agencies.
yeah.
And
Bloomington doesn't really need them because they have their own economic development department and community investment department and all that. But anyway.
Yeah. So it's incredible also with nonprofit organizations where you go and you look at their tax filings. And Diane taught me how to do this on her page because she walks you through it. And you look up their EIN and you can go find them on ProPublica. And you look on their tax filings, like, because you can go and get the nonprofits tax filings, but they've got this like little section called public fund. They're not legally required to disclose how much of their money comes from government and how much of it comes from private donations. So that's not separated out on their tax filings. And it's so freaking annoying because it's like, I know y'all are getting like crazy amounts of taxpayer dollars because it's all in the headlines. Like, we gave X amount, $1.3 million. So did this $1.3 million go to this Bloomington Health Council?
Yes. Well, the county behavioral health coordinating council.
So this is incredible, Diane. I'm going to play this really quick because the same thing is going on in LA. Okay, so the exact same thing, tiny homes. So this is Brooker T. Jones, and she was interviewing California residents. This guy particularly lives in Los Angeles, and Sheila Montney had talked about the tiny homes at the Bloomington City Council meeting a few weeks ago. But let me play this clip, and I'm going to get your reaction. Hold on, Diane.
So in this area, they built 100 tiny homes to house homeless people. Tell me what's happening with those tiny homes.
Yeah, those tiny homes, they fit about a bed and a little bit more. So they built about maybe over 100 tiny homes. So when that started, all the drug dealers stormed this area. So it's full open air drug dealing there every day. So of course it brings crime because they want the money for the drugs. Homes are broken into, robberies, looting, and of course homeless camps around this whole area. So these tiny homes didn't really help anything. It just hurt the whole neighborhood. The owners of these tiny homes are charging $150 a night for the size of a car. Yeah, so
the city pays $150 a night for the homeless people to live in these tiny homes to a corporation who owns the tiny homes. But instead of people just sleeping in the tiny homes, drug dealing is being done by the tiny homes.
That's correct, yes. So some nonprofits are operating the tiny homes, and they make a lot of money. They're paid by the city. Everything they do, they're paid.
Okay, so let me get that out of here. The same thing going on in LA. So this is a nonprofit organization. It's called Hope Mission. They're the only ones that I could really find that have actually broke ground on these tiny homes. Governor Gavin Newsom gave millions of dollars for these tiny homes to be built in Los Angeles, San Diego, several cities in California. And these guys have actually broken ground on 6 developments. And they're tiny homes, and the nonprofit gets paid by the city for the rent, essentially $150 per night. So this is a really this is kind of creepy because it's right here in Bloomington. So the NGO charges California charges Los Angeles $150 per night. That's the city. And then that's $4,500 per month per unit. Okay. And there's 100 tiny homes in this particular development in California. So it's weird because they're almost like taking a playbook right out of like Los Angeles here, this Bloomington Health Council. How much money are they actually going to be getting from the city in order to house homeless people there? And then not to mention the drug dealing that goes on. So what do you think about that, Diane? You would think that they're all kind of connected because like this is like step by step seems to be what's gone on in Los Angeles, but they're different nonprofit organizations. So I don't know. It's bizarre, right?
Well, we don't know how much in the future they're going to ask for operating expenses. The 1.3 million is just to build it at this point. Now, how much is it going to cost to operate it? We don't have any idea. But if you look at where these people have set up camp either in Normal or downtown Bloomington or on the west side of town, they do not take care of their property. There's trash everywhere. It's like if they can't keep their property picked up at all where they are now, do you think they're going to do it downtown? Or is Home Sweet Home Mission going to be in charge of totally cleaning the area when these people just throw trash everywhere? I don't know how this is going to work. There is a fence around the place, so maybe we won't be able to see inside. It's just going to have to play out. But there's all kinds of stories, like Denver has small houses. The people that are staying there are trashing these houses. And very few of them actually graduate out of these tiny houses back into society, back into apartments or jobs or anything. They are perfectly content just to live the way they are and keep alcohol, drugs, whatever, that it's not really treating mental health. We used to have lockups for that.
Yeah.
But we got rid of those decades ago. And it's like, we shouldn't have. These people need intensive mental health treatment with no access to alcohol or drugs if they want to fix their lives. And maybe they don't. Some people never do.
Yeah, this is really, I think it's going to be terrible for the community because it's just going to amplify, I think, an already bad situation. Right now, they're intense. You see the trash, you see the trash cans, and there could be a fence around this. In LA, they've done this. And you heard from that LA resident and you saw the tents they were right outside that development. And the tiny homes, they look kind of cute, of course, on the nonprofit's website. But then you actually visit the place and you see that outside of the fence, there's homeless encampments still. And it's turned into a community of drug dealers and substance abuse. And they still set up the encampments right there.
But these people in downtown Bloomington can leave. They don't have to stay inside the fence. So during the day, they can wander all over downtown Bloomington, which was a problem when they were camping downtown. They were harassing people and wanting money, and it was a bad situation. And then in the meantime, Bloomington's doing this whole remodel of downtown Bloomington. It's going to go really well. It could be a problem in the future.
Yeah, they're spending all that money on the downtown streetscape, and you're going to wind up like with like you've spent all this money in making your downtown, but nobody wants to actually go to downtown because you've also got these tiny homes and the homeless encampments surrounding the tiny homes. And what bothers me so much, Diane, is that Sheila did this. She talked about this at the Bloomington City Council meeting, and they said, "Oh, well, that's not Bloomington." Yeah, but this is pretty much the same thing that we're doing here. She even mentioned it. The slides were modeled, the presentation for the tiny homes was modeled after the Denver tiny home project. And I mean, I don't know. If we have a case study, why are we not looking at the facts and figures there? And we're just plowing ahead with this. And who holds the bag at the end of the day? It's the taxpayer.
It's the taxpayers, yeah. Government always thinks, oh, we can fix it. We can do better. And they never do.
Mm-hmm. Well, Diane, that's the end of the show. I appreciate you. Tell us more about BLN News, who you are really quickly before we wrap up today.
I am just somebody who saw really bad local reporting 13 years ago and decided I can do better. It's like I want people to know the things that nobody else is reporting. And that's what I try to present to people with documentation, with proof. I don't do anything without proving what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She's got all the receipts right there on BLNNEWS.com. Go check it out. Thank you so much, Diane, for joining me again here on Conservative Cat. And you have a blessed day. Love you guys so much. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning. It's a daily show, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, like this, share this out with your friends, and visit BLNNEWS.com. And read about what's going on in Bloomington, Normal, in the central Illinois area. And always tune in. We'll have something to say about the news. We definitely will right here on Conservative Cat. Bye-bye. Love you so much.